1, 2, 3, 4.
All right, welcome back to Country and Cold Cans. I'm Logan sitting here with Kyle, and this week Trucker Andy has fallen ill, as he told us via text. So he is sick this week. So sitting in the third chair, welcome back, Classic Rock Carter.
Whoop-de-whoop.
All right, as always, 5 stars, great reviews, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Be sure to follow us on the socials, Twitter, I guess the X app now. Instagram is at Cold Cans Country. On the TikTok, it is at Country and Cold Cans. Follow us there. Check out the website, coldcantaco.com, for merch and T-shirts. Hats and T-shirts. All right, fellas, before we get into the song roundup for this week, we've got 5 new to new-ish songs that we are going to be covering. I know I was telling you guys a little bit about it last week because, like, for the listeners, I run the socials most of the time. So it's like I'm the one who's kind of like in the know on the internet, Twitter sphere on that stuff. So it's like I was kind of filling in Classic Rock Carter and Kyle about the Whiskey Riff versus Western Grunge tape deck wars that have been going on Twitter. So just to kind of, if you haven't heard about it, Western Grunge Tape Deck is a podcast similar to ours, where a big focus on like independent music. They do a very good job of highlighting independent music, both on social and on their show. Good dudes. Like I've interacted with their pages and the people that run those pages on Twitter a good bit through the last few months. Good folks over there, and they highlight a lot of good music. And they had been trolling Whiskey Riff. And if you're a country music fan who has access to the internet, you're probably aware of Whiskey Riff. Whiskey Riff started off as a small kind of like independent thing a long time ago. They've grown to big heights, so shout out to them for that. But at this point, as Carter kind of pointed out, they're really have kind of become like the BuzzFeed of country music. And they are now partially owned by the Opry. So they have big money behind it, as opposed to independent content creators like us and Western Grunge Tape Deck. But the folks over at Western Grunge were, had been talking about finally starting a website, and they've got big plans for like a record label and a venue and down the line, everything. It's like cool stuff. But they found out after they had been trolling Whiskey Riff that the people at Whiskey Riff had bought the URLs that said westerngrungetd.com and westerngrungetapdeck.com. So like the name of their show and their brand, the URL they can't own right now because a much larger entity with lots of money, corporate America essentially, bought their URL. Now, get this part out of the way. Did Whiskey Riff do anything illegal? No. Like, it's fully legal and they have the right to do it. Is it a little bit kind of crappy to do to a much smaller brand who doesn't have corporate backing? I think so. But, get your guys' take on it real quick. I mean, I know that we're in the fight supporting the independent content creators in the country music and roots music space like us, but like you don't punch down like that. Carter, what was it back in the day? Like in pro wrestling, if you were the top dog and the next guy closest to you was just so far behind you, you're not taking shots at the guy below you.
You don't bother messing with the little puppies at the bottom of the food chain. If you're the top dog, that just feels really petty. And it almost shows that they feel threatened.
I think so.
That they would be willing to buy the main 2 URLs that they would probably use. So I think that speaks volumes as to just how much Tape Deck has gotten under their skin.
Yeah, and some of their, like, it was them being internet trolls. It was funny. Like, we all see this and share memes with each other all the time. Kyle, I know that you and I shoot memes back and forth all the time on Instagram. Like, to think that someone with the following of Whiskey Riff and the money behind Whiskey Riff actually took the time to go out and not only purchase one, but then a week later purchase a second URL and then have their lawyer, who is also a editor for the publication, send out a statement. It's a bit much. It's like, come on, guys.
Yeah, you really don't have the independent vibe when you have a lawyer who's also your editor. That kind of, I don't want to say negates, but it hampers your cause when you have a lawyer
on staff,
willing and able to be like, oh yeah, here's my statement. Here's our statement. Here's our corporate statement in legalese.
Pretty much.
Not the best look. Granted, is it funny? Yes. Is this very millennial Gen Z-esque? Yes. Do I support it? I mean, hey, not in this case. In other cases, yes, I do, because I mean there are people who are like make accounts on Blue Sky or whatever the alt Twitter account is, and they'll just make a nameless Elon Musk or Donald Trump and just sit there for years and be like, I'm going to hold out in case they ever move to this platform and I'm going to get paid. I'm like, okay, all right, yeah. Okay, that's funny. Yeah, you do that. I mean, you were there first. You're punching up. Let them pay you so that you can have that username. But,
But when you dwarf in popularity and resources, like I'm with you on that. Like that is just kind of funny.
I wouldn't make a Blue Skies account and make it classic Rock Carter and be like, Carter, you owe me $500 for this username. I'm like, I mean, who cares at that point? Yeah. I mean, who cares at that point? If you're punching up, yeah, I'm all for it because it's funny. If you're on whatever new app is, Threads or, any of these things, I'm all for it because you're punching up. If you go get, Donald Trump's name on whatever thing
at real Donald Trump on Blue Sky,
or you have the donaldtrump.com URL. I'm like, okay, all right, that's fair play. Turnabout, that's great, funny, get paid, buddy. You were there first. Get your money and get out. Have fun with it. That's just opportunistic economy. But if you're I can't. It's like it would be like ESPN.
If you have the massive following and corporate backing and a big merch apparatus that generates all this revenue, and then here's these guys doing an independent podcast about independent music who are like us basically, right? I mean, they essentially are us doing this, and then a bigger operation with more resources comes in just because they got in their feels about some Twitter posts that were trolling them. I mean, it's like I'm with you 100% with everything you said. Like, it's different when you're punching up versus punching down.
Be like ESPN buying tailgateseason.com.
Right.
Come on, bro. Dog. What are you doing, man?
If you aren't aware, Tailgate Season is the sister podcast for ACC Sports. If you are so inclined, available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. That is Tailgate SZN. Tailgate SZN. Anyways, back to regularly scheduled programming.
Yeah, I mean, like, come on, dog. What are you doing, man? ESPN, you have like real competition. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. Fox Sports and Barstool and all these other people that are really pulling at your viewership. Like, we're just a little niche podcast on the internet. It's not really hurting you. Like,
it's just petty at that point too. Yeah, like Carter said.
So I support it when you punch up. I don't really like it when you punch down because it just makes you look vindictive and kind of scared.
It's the first rule of stand-up comedy. First rule of stand-up comedy is don't punch down. You punch up. It's not funny when you punch down. You just seem like a dick.
But that was my main beef with the Borat movies. I loved them. They're fucking hilarious. But my whole beef with him, I was like, he punched down the whole time. Like, he was making fun of like ordinary people. I'm like, come on, go find like some government official and make him look bad in your movies. That would have made it even more hilarious.
I think he does that in later movies.
He might do. He might. I mean, The Dictator, he kind of does that. He goes at like certain governments, but like the old school Borat movies. So I was like, it's hilarious. Don't get me wrong. But like, I was like, you're punching at like regular civilians and citizens, and they don't even know what you're doing. It seems awful. It's like, okay, all right, yeah. It's funny, don't get me wrong, but like, you're just like, all right, yeah. Take a big swing. Go get like a senator, a hot mic.
Or Rudy Giuliani.
Yeah, or Rudy Giuliani. Yeah, that would be hilarious. I mean, go get like somebody.
Well, that happened. That's why I said his name. Yeah, I think it was in the second one, right?
He was in like the second or the third one.
Oh, I never watched the second one. I only watched the first one.
Yeah,
which I find it hilarious, but yeah. Shout out to Sacha Baron Cohen.
But yeah, so shout out Western Grunge Tape Deck. Hopefully you get your URLs back. But at the end of the day, let's call a spade a spade. You've gotten a lot of engagement and exposure as a result of this. So not the worst thing.
There's one thing that I would say is all news is good news for them.
Yeah, at this point.
There is no such thing as bad press.
For the most part.
It's like Stephen A. Smith said, if they're talking about me, they're listening to me.
Yeah, for the most part. That's true. But all right, moving right along to the song roundup this week, we have to start off with. So, our actually most recent interview was Treaty Oak Revival, a couple episodes back. So check that out. Available where your podcasts are available, Spotify and Apple Podcasts are the main ones. We actually put out a clip of this on our socials this past week about them with their latest single, Happy Face. They were talking about this song and like the kind of the inspiration and the story behind writing it. So we'll play like the little clip of it, and then we'll kind of get into that, our take on this song. And here we go. And I wish that I could take away the weight that all of this shit brings. I feel like you're across the highway, really you're 100 miles away. And I draw my finger on the shore, you're not here anymore. So yeah, there's Happy Face by Treaty Oak Revival. And like I said, we had them on the show a couple episodes back. They were saying how this song was about collectively how they were all feeling like just being on the road so much touring and just like missing their loved ones at home. And then it was kind of like you heard the reference to the shore there towards at the end of that clip we played where they had wrote this song while on the beach. I think if you are listening, you want to hear that, you can find the clip on our socials about them talking about it. I think it was around the 32 or 38 minute mark on the episode if you want to hear that. But they did say they were going to go into more of a rock direction, and I really liked this song a lot because I think the rock direction they went kind of flirted with, and to my ear at least, some of the kind of like pop punk stylings. I know that they're big Blink-182 fans. We had talked about that on the show with them as well. But Kyle, you're a big Treaty Oak fan just like I am. What were your thoughts on Happy Face?
Oh, I loved it. I would put it in like the second tier songs I love of their discography so far. I feel like this would have been an interesting debate if we didn't know the backstory of it. My view of the song is a little tainted because when, obviously they told us it was about a song about being on the road, et cetera, et cetera. And so when you look up the lyrics, you're like, okay, yes, I definitely see this now. I would have loved to know what me, you, and Andy would have thought without that prior knowledge. It's like, whatever. Have you ever seen those things where it's like, and then it'll tell you, it'll be like, all right, what do you hear? And then it'll tell you, you'll have like a little picture of words, and that's all you hear from there on. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. It's just like, it's almost like a kind of a point of privilege that like we knew what the artist's point of view was. So we all, I don't want to say tainted, but it was always like, okay, yeah, I know where they're coming from. So
we had a framework as to how to listen to the song before it was out. Whereas if we hadn't have talked to them and them told us that, then we would have just been going in like any other song. We're just listening to it, trying to figure it out, which is kind of funny because like during the episode, if you remember, Sam and Lance were saying how they heard our album review from their latest record, Have a Nice Day, and said that we got a lot of them right, or we got some of them right, some of them partially right, and then there were some that we were just way off. Which I found funny because I was just like, that's probably the case for everything we've ever reviewed on this show.
Yes, I mean, I don't want to say I was tainted because that's the wrong word. It's more like I just went into it knowing like, all right, this is what Sam was thinking about. So I'm like, okay, so I couldn't have like an honest take on like what do they mean? What are they saying? Et cetera, et cetera. It's like, well, I know what they're saying because they told us.
It wasn't up for your interpretation to what you thought it was maybe saying because we already knew ahead of time.
And I think that kind of, in like a not bad way, kind of robbed us of like an interesting discussion.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I still think the song's incredibly well written, and I love like I said, if this is the direction they're going, I'm here for it because this is, like I said, on sonically speaking, I think this kind of flirts a little bit more with that kind of pop punk ish style of rock music that I tend to like a little bit. And so if this is where they're going, I really like it. You should definitely check out the music video too, because it has like a bunch of different clips of like performances, and then some of them on the road. It has some clips out on the beach, because I know they were recording some stuff out there, and that was when they wrote this song. Was out on the beach, and then they recorded a demo right then after writing it, if I'm remembering correctly. But Carter, go ahead.
Well, I do love the one line. It's like, you're not the best at letting me know, but I'm the no. Hold on. It is you're not the best at saying hello, but I'm the best at letting you know. I do like that line a lot, and I think it's in the second or third chorus. Highlight of the song for me.
Oh yeah, I love this song. I listened to this song when it came out on release day, probably 15 to 20 times in a row, because it was just one of those songs that I was sitting there in my office at my desk. Yeah, I was just kind of rocking out to it. So I just hit it on repeat, so I get used to it, get used to the lyrics, because I think we thought we were going to record sooner than we have recently, and we had talked about wanting to cover this song, and then it just got put on the back burner because we had taken a brief little hiatus, but we are back now. And so I listened to it so much, but I was just like, I didn't get tired of it. I was just sitting there and was like, it was kind of like got the blood pumping and made my regular 9-to-5 corporate-ish life a little bit more exciting that day. But Carter, what were your thoughts? Speaking of people who are now sitting in an office, welcome, Carter, to sitting there with carpal tunnel and staring at a screen all day.
Yippee, I'm so excited. At the very least, I don't stare at a screen all day, just half the day. But yeah, you kind of robbed me of my point, because I was going to bring up that if it wasn't for the Southern accent of the voice, and if it was slightly different instruments, or even if they were tuned a bit differently, this would absolutely be a pop punk, or I'd even hazard to say maybe an emo rock sort of song from the early 2000s. It absolutely has the cadence of that. It absolutely jams like one of those. And I know we've talked about this multiple times before, how a lot of the scene coming up these days has, your Blink-182s and a lot of bands like your Killers, a lot of your bands like that they are inspired by, and they're weaving a bit of that into the fabric of their country songs as they're coming up. And I think it's a big reason why I really like Treaty Oak. For those who have never heard me on the podcast before, I don't really listen to country music that much. What happens is Logan sends me the playlist for these. And usually what happens is Logan sends it to me at about noon the day that we record, at about 8 p.m., 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah,
so I get to listen to them like once or twice and give you a knee-jerk reaction. Complete shock.
A little more prepared this time.
Yeah, complete shock. He sent it to me 2 days ago.
Yeah.
So I got to listen to it a bit more than that.
Yeah, if you didn't listen to it this time, it was your own fucking fault.
Yeah, no, I did the homework. I'll at least get a C. But yeah, I really like Treaty Oak. Just from everything I hear, the three of us are really good friends. Whenever we're like driving around anywhere, Logan will usually have Treaty Oak playing. Probably one of the country bands that I really like the most that are around right now. The guys in the band seem really cool, and this song gets a nice big thumbs up from Classic Rock Carter, because technically, just to make us all feel old, I'm pretty sure bands like Blink-182 and the Killers are getting close to being classic rock, if they aren't already.
Yeah, well, Green Day's played on classic rock radio now.
They are.
Yeah. But yeah, Treaty Oak Revival with their latest single, Happy Face. All right, next up, another guest of the show that we had on years ago, who we're big fans of, is Graycie York, and her new single that came out Friday called Dust.
Ain't it just like a cowboy to make you think you're falling in love? The second you're ready to settle down, he starts to saddle up. You think you have everything you want, but he's always gonna want more. 'Cause Sing it just like a cowboy to leave you in the dust.
All right, so one of the first things I'll say about this is I love Graycie York's vocal. I have since kind of the first time we had heard her music and then interviewed her years ago here on this show. She has definitely a big like traditional country influence. I know she's a huge Patsy Cline fan, and this song just screams trad country, like from the subject matter to the production to the high pedal steel in the mix. Like this is subject wise, like we don't say this as a insult by any means, because country music is being able to write songs about these things and doing it well, which she did here. But it's like she's not reinventing the wheel subject matter wise, but this song is very well written and well crafted. Just about, you falling in love with a cowboy, and just when you think things are about to work out, it's the old classic trope. The cowboy ends up saddling up, rides away, right? So it's kind of heartbroken because you can't make a cowboy settle down. They're in love with the road, or I guess heading off on the old dusty trail. I like this song a lot. Like I said, Gracie's very talented. Love her vocal, and I'm here for the traditional country on this track. But Carter, what's up?
Maybe a bit of a shock here, but I thought this was the best of the 5 songs that we had tonight. And I'll even go out on a limb and say that if you weren't blinded by the nostalgia, I could hear this song being played in the 90s right alongside your Shania Twains, your Faith Hills, your Dixie Chicks, all the ones that are held in such high regard this day and time, because this is essentially a quintessential country song. I mean, it literally is, like you mentioned, it's not covering anything that hasn't been covered before. It's talking about how cowboys love being out alone, leaving their girls at home. And a lot of times they just realize they don't have time for a woman in their life, and they leave them. And she does such a phenomenal job with her vocals. The instrumentals are just fantastic. The lyrics are outstanding, just to get the point across. If it wasn't for the fact, if this came on in the 90s, everyone would be just as much in love with this as they'd be in love with the Faith Hills, the Shanias, the Dixie Chicks, and all the other icons of female country music from back then. And I know that's probably going to get on a lot of people's nerves, but if you take off your rose-tinted glasses and you stop remembering when you listened to these songs when you were 9 years old and your mom had it playing in the van when she picked you up from soccer practice, you might feel the same way.
Well, I'll definitely say that she sonically, probably, and Kyle would agree with this, I think, has a lot more in common with the Dixie Chicks than Shania Twain. But I hear your point, and I agree with you. Like this definitely, because the 90s had a good uptick in very talented female artists who had radio hits and were big hits that we all remember as kids. So you're spot on with, like, this is that type of song that could have been right there alongside it. And I will say, shout out Carter for those who haven't heard many episodes of Carter on here. Carter usually is not a huge fan of a lot of the songs. Most of them are just like, it's passable. Like, he's 2 for 2 right now. I'm kind of surprised.
We're getting there.
Kyle?
So I believe she's from Texas, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
So I like the I don't know what part of Texas. Maybe if it's the western part. Okay. I like the dust reference because most of western Texas is desert. So maybe she is. I don't know exactly where in Texas she's from. So I like that. I like that reference. I actually get more of a not to disagree with Carter. Instead of the 90s, I actually get more of the early 2000s Miranda Lambert influence of this song. A little bit of rasp, a little bit of mainly the rasp, but the sonic notes. I get more of a Miranda Lambert vibe, which I'm here for because, as everyone knows on this show, big early Miranda Lambert fan. It's kind of what this song reminded me of. I like it a lot. She's fantastic. And I'm glad she's doing really well because I believe her first album came out in 2020, 21.
It was right at the beginning of COVID. I think we interviewed her in 2020, I want to say.
Yeah, so I mean that's a hard time to start a career, and she's still doing really well. I'm very proud of her. I knew it was about that time. It's been a couple years, so I'm glad she's. I mean, that's a bold time to make your first album drop, and I was a little concerned, a little worried, but it also might have been the best time if you think about it in hindsight, being 2020. Because what else do you have to do but listen to music? But yeah, I'm really proud of her. I like this song a lot. It's very good. It has a lot of the trad country vibes, and as you said, so. But I get a little bit more of a early aughts Miranda Lambert vibe.
I'm trying to think of it, and I won't think of it on the spot because it's been a long time since I've listened to that. But there was a couple of the ballads from early Miranda Lambert that I can hear the comparison that you're talking about. But that'll be something I have to look up when we start recording. But either way, another great song coming from Graycie York. Definitely check her music out. All right, next up, we have one from a very talented solo artist, but he's also named J.R. Carroll. We've covered him on the show before. Me, Andy, and Kyle have, and he is also plays, I believe, the fiddle for Zach Bryan's band. So he's but he's a very talented songwriter and artist in his own right. He had a new song that came out this past week, I believe it was, called "Hometown Hero."
I don't need any sympathy. I don't want anything but wine. She may be gone, she won't forget me. 'Cause heroes don't die, Lord knows I've tried, but love just won't let me.
So J.R. Carroll with Hometown Hero. The thing I think I like about J.R. Carroll's music, so talk about old school, this sonically is definitely a throwback song. His voice has the same quality and how as Tyler Childers in some areas of this song, which I think a lot of people are drawn to. I know that I am, like, especially when he kind of gets to like "Don't Want Anything But Wine." The way he sings that is very reminiscent of Childers. The basic structure of this song, he's it's kind of referencing the fact that he's done pretty well in his career. He's got some notoriety now. He's kind of a hometown hero when he gets home, and his friends look forward to seeing him at the bar. But at the end of the day, there's kind of like this achiness in his heart for a love that is left, is kind of what I heard. And that hometown, like, he's a hometown hero, but heroes don't die because love just won't let him. Curious y'all's thoughts on it, because I've gone back and forth on whether or not he was heartbroken in the chorus, but maybe that's just where my mind always goes in these songs with country songs. But J.R. Carroll, Kyle, why don't you take a crack at it first?
All right, so this is my Logan ass song of the week.
Yep.
Lyrically, I love it. Delivery, I don't know. I was kind of bored. I mean, I hate to say it that way because I don't want to be too hard, because lyrically it's fantastic. But I don't know if I agree with the very old school, because old school could always hold me and grab me. Maybe it's nostalgia. Maybe it's not. I don't know. But
Carter kind of outlined that point in his a few minutes ago, that some of those old songs, like, it's the nostalgia that grabs people.
Yeah, and it could be 100%. I don't know. I had to force myself to really listen to it, because every time I was listening to it the past 2 days, I would just check out and I would be like, what is this song about? I don't know. I just would just be like, oh, look at the tree going down the road. It just never grabbed me. And I looked up the lyrics, and I like the lyrics a lot, especially the my buddies are waiting on me, and I'll buy them around anything but gin. Yeah. I mean, it's funny.
That's a great line.
It's a funny line, but I never once heard it in the song, because I would just always kind of just check out. It never really grabbed me, and I don't know. That might just be a me thing. I don't know. I just always felt a little bored.
It's a little bit, the production on it's a lot more stripped back, and like I said, it is old school with the way it's produced, and it being a little bit more slower tempo country. And sometimes I've met that like that with songs, so I totally understand what you're saying. This one wasn't like that for me, but I have had songs from artists that I like that go this kind of direction sonically, and that's happened to me. So I get what you're saying on that.
But but in my case, usually it's like there's a verse or there's a quip or there's something that'll grab you, and you'll be like, "Oh, I'm waiting the whole song for that one little."
You know what it was for me though? I can tell you what grabbed me was the vocal. The vocal is what grabbed me. And I say that the part where I was just talking about where it said like anything but wine, the way he emotes during that, and kind of like like I said, it has a similar quality with Tyler Childers' vocal.
Well, see, that's where me and you differ. Normally, what grabs me is like there's a riff on a pedal steel, or there's a riff on a steel guitar, or just a regular guitar, electric guitar, and it's just a riff in line with the vocal, and you're like, "Oh, I love that."
Yeah,
and it just kind of wasn't. I was just kind of like, "Oh, okay." But normally, like the things that grab me, there's two things in any song, which is almost every song, but it's like a lyrical quip, like a really high pitched or a really special vocal, or it is just normal vocals with a really well timed riff, like on a pedal steel. Me and you both love pedal steel.
Oh yeah.
And then when they combine them, you're like, I know.
Yeah. I 100% agree with that.
I'm there for that.
I think some of it is too. We really don't cover a lot of slower tempo songs on this show. It's most of the time is mid tempo, and then we have some that are a little bit more up tempo, like Happy Face Patridio was a little more up tempo. We don't broach a ton of slower tempo songs.
The only thing, we've done some Zach Bryan's that are really slow tempo, but they're also Zach Bryan, and they're just either horrifically sad or like, they're a thesis where you really have to break them down
and study it.
Yeah, and you're just almost like, am I too stupid to understand this? And I have to listen to it 15 times.
I feel that way sometimes.
I mean, the one he wrote about his mom dying, I mean, that's incredibly slow, but it grabbed you immediately when it played the voicemail. And you're just oh, shit.
That was at the very end of it, too.
Yeah, it just grabs you, and you're just like, oh, shit. Repeat. I got to hear that again.
I think I know exactly what you mean, though, because that's why early... And sorry, J.R. Carroll, for us talking about, because this I'm sure happens to him a lot because he plays in Zach Bryan's band, right? But like we're talking about Zach Bryan while we're supposed to be talking about J.R. Carroll. But like about Zach Bryan, though, that was me before I saw him live, right? When his first couple records were out and people were like really, really hype on his music. I just was like, I don't get it, because it was just so like stripped back. And I just was like, didn't hear what they were hearing. Saw him live. It changed my perspective. And then the newer music obviously has had more money in the production, where we've been able to hear kind of more fleshed out songs, even if it isn't top tier studio level, like some people expect. But yeah, no, I get what you're saying on that. Cause I've had plenty of songs like that. Carter, if I had to guess, I would say you wouldn't have liked this song.
I don't know if it's because I am essentially.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if it's because this week I am in the middle of changing sleep schedules and I'm tired.
got to get up when the sun gets up. Man.
Yeah, no, it fucking sucks ass.
But Carter, I'm sorry. The fact that you're like, I'm in the middle of changing sleep schedules, and I know that you go to work at 8.
30.
But
it only gets worse, big dog.
I know it does. I know.
Yeah, trust me, it doesn't get better.
It only gets worse, big dog.
I know. But I don't know if it was because of that, and I'm tired this week.
Yeah,
this song put me to sleep, man. And it probably is I'm pretty much in the same boat as Kyle. I look at this song and I'm like, there's nothing wrong with this song. This song is perfectly good, but it being low tempo and very not a whole lot of production to it, just I did the same thing as Kyle. I listen to these songs a lot when I've been driving this week, like to and from work, and I'm literally just like I'm barely even absorbing the song because it's so slow. And
it's just y'all are the TikTok generation.
Hey man, I'm not the TikTok generation.
You gotta have your
Vine. I'm the Vine generation. Thank you.
Gotta have your little shiny object keep you entertained because you don't have an attention span. No, like I said, I totally get that with this song. I had a feeling this was going to be the outlier for you two in terms of that because of the slower tempo aspect of it. But because I've had songs like that with me too, so I get it. That's not the song that if you guys didn't like that I was ready to fight about. There is one still that I would be ready to fight about if people don't like it. But all right, so moving right along. Here's another person that we haven't talked to yet. We'd love to, but we are big fans, or at least I would say me and Kyle are big fans. Carter's probably not super familiar with her music, but Ashland Craft had 2 new songs that came out. And the one that we're going to talk about today is called Morning Person, which Carter is now, as he said, having to learn to become.
Blech.
I don't want to be wide awake, getting up with the sun, to a pair of blue eyes, pair of boots on the floor. Don't know how you went and made me into someone I was sure I was never gonna be before. Now I'm a tangled shape like coffee pouring, waking up next to you every morning. Person.
So first thing I'll say is I like this song, but I don't love this song. But I think this song is very enjoyable to listen to. It's very easy going. I like the kind of like sedated, but yet keeps you interested production. What draws me into Ashland Craft, though, is her raspy, almost, dare I say, smoky aspect to her vocal. I love her vocal on almost every song she sings. The song's fairly well written. Talking about, she was kind of a rambler, so to speak. I think there was a line in there saying turned a one night stand, thrift store lamp into a making plans and enjoying it kind of gal. So like, you find the right, it's the age old story you hear about in music. You kind of are a loner or you don't want to be serious. And then that person that just supposed to be the one that sweeps you off your feet and just kind of knocks your socks off, and you're sitting there being like, man, all these stuff that I thought was lame before, now I want to do this. Brunch, yeah, I like brunch now. Drinking coffee, watching the sun come up, that sounds interesting. When before you were like, hell no. So yeah, I think this song is fine. I like it. I'll continue to listen to it. I didn't love it, but I love to listen to Ashland Craft sing because I love her vocal. Kyle.
I don't have much to offer. Main thing I really liked about the song, once again, was her vocal. It's not really reinventing the wheel. It's not very deep, but it's solid. It's a solid 6.5, 7.
Like a solid album cut song that gets you between the songs that you really love on a record is the way I felt.
I don't want to call it filler because it's better than filler, but it's, in my opinion, this goes between the 2 radio hits she's about to drop.
Oh yeah, I mean this would be, use a baseball analogy. This would probably be like a single. Maybe if you really hustle, you could stretch it out into a double, but it isn't a home run.
I would put it more like a pass ball that you turn into a double.
So you strike out, and then pass ball, you get to first, they overthrow, there's another error, and then you end up on second base.
Yep. Yeah. So it's like a E3 or E1 and E3 on the same play. But yeah, I mean, it's good. It's good, not great. If it comes on in the playlist,
he just said it's good, but then he said it's the equivalent of a strikeout that you reach on an error.
Hey, it works, right? It works. If your OBS goes up, it pays the bills. I wouldn't skip it if it came on in a playlist.
Yeah, it's a very pleasant song to listen to. Like I said, it's not going to be in my song of the year candidates by any means, but I'm never going to probably skip this song if it comes in a playlist. I'm with you on that.
And 90% of that is just her voice.
Yes, I just love listening to her sing.
Yeah, 90% of it's her voice. So
she could be like, Kyle and Logan are idiots, and we'd be like, yes, I like this song.
Yes, it's fantastic. In fact, I agree with you.
I mean, fact check true. All right, Carter.
Yeah, so I'm kind of in the same boat as y'all. I thought this song was pretty good, not amazing. I will say I really dig the lyrics. I honestly got a little bit of like a Carrie Underwood sort of vibe from this song. But more in the other direction. We usually associate Carrie Underwood with the God, I Hate My Ex sort of songs.
I associate her with Sunday Night Football.
That's true. That's true. She is now the Sunday Night Football girl. But back in the day, she was Miss dug her keys into the side of your pretty little souped up 4-wheel drive, and every girl who felt like their man wronged them was quoting that. But I feel like vocally, this Miss Ashland is very similar to Carrie Underwood. I could be completely off base here, but yeah, I absolutely could see this. This feels to me like if I was riding down the road listening to country radio, this would come on, and I wouldn't be like, "Oh yeah, I really like this song." It would just play, and I'd just drive and not acknowledge it really. But I wouldn't be like, ew, and change the radio station. Yeah. I'd just be it's fine.
It's not like when Sam Hunt used to come on the radio.
Yeah, no, it's not freaking turning it because a god awful Florida Georgia Line song or something came on.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was at on it too. It's like, I think it's a good song. I love listening to her sing, but it's not going to be, our song of the year by any means. All right, last one on the song roundup this week is yes.
Before you go to the next song, I wish I would have said this about 20 minutes ago when you made the comment about I'll fight you over a song.
Yeah,
because I would have put my life savings on this song. Would be the one you wanted to fight somebody about.
Well, that's not what you said before we were recording, so I don't believe you.
Well, I would have. I was conflicted because I really thought it was the JR song, and then when you said that, I was like, "Oh, damn! I should have placed that bet.
Yeah, this song that we're about to play by this artist who just put out her first record is a song that will fight anybody. This song's awesome, and if you don't like it, you're just stupid. All right.
Yeah, crap taste, bro.
Yeah. Why don't you check the smart part of your brain and maybe you'll like it. But no, so this is an artist that I was familiar with the name only because she was featured on a 49 Winchester song. So that was the first time we had heard her sing. But then my sister-in-law had texted me and said, you should try to get Maggie Antone on the show. I've been listening to her and her music is awesome. I was like, why does that sound familiar? Then I remember, oh yeah, the 49 Winchester song. So I went and checked out Maggie Antone's music. I really, really enjoyed her record. But the song that stuck out to me the most was the album closer. It was this song right here that we're about to talk about called Meant to Meet. This one was, like I said, the song that of the ones I was willing to fight somebody over.
We got issues. You got yours and baby I got mine. time you're sober, I'll say I'm alright. All this one foot in, foot out the door don't work for me, and you know more, I think. We were meant to meet, not meant to be.
So, Meant to Meet by Maggie Antone. This song from the like her vocal is very conversational, but at the same time, later on in the song, she hits this point where she emotes really well, and kind of it has kind of this longing and also kind of pain in her voice that is it just grabs you and you can relate to it. But the song itself is just incredibly well written. The first verse is fantastic. Like if you like the flags were red, but I soaked them in bleach. I closed my eyes as you were falling in love with me. What stable man spends his nights in Rosemary's, a place where friends alike and alcoholics meet? Like, I'm telling you, Maggie, bravo. Like, love this. Love that grabbed me immediately with that first line. I had to restart it the first time I heard it because I was like, wait a minute, what did I hear? The flags were red, but I soaked them in bleach. Because she, like I said, she has this conversational way of delivering a line, but also kind of a little bit of snarkiness that I like sometimes from an artist with her lyrics. But then as the song goes on, it's not just some snark and kind of sedated aspect to it. She gets very emotional because we were meant to meet. Is what the age old thing people are saying, it's the right person at the wrong time. And you kind of get this feeling at the very end of the song where it's just like where she goes, it's you, it's always been you, but it's like, you know, we were meant to meet, but not meant to be. Loved everything about this song. 2 thumbs up from me for Maggie Antone. Kyle, what did you think?
Besides that first verse, which is just an absolute banger, the chorus, I think as you just said, we were meant to meet, but not meant to be. We can't grow up, but damn, we're getting old. All right. Tip of the cap there. Fantastic. Yeah, just a banger. And it's a little bit more of a pop vibe. I don't really want to call it a pop vibe, but it has like you could almost stretch it to be on like an alt pop Sirius XM station. I could see that on there. It's country, but it's like one of those songs that wears many hats.
The reverb on the vocal, I think kind of fits what you're saying on that.
Yeah, fantastic. Incredibly well written. I wish I was a betting man because I don't know. I probably would have stayed away. I'd have been like, I don't know if I want to touch that bet. But there were 2. I was really concerned. I was like, it's either the JR song or it's this one. I don't know which one is a Logan ass song that he's gonna love the most. But this one's fantastic. I loved it from
Red Flag, soaking them in bleach.
Yeah, I mean that going back to the JR song.
Yeah,
grabs you off the jump. You're like, all right, I'm in. All right, let's keep going.
That's a hell of a line to start a song off with. And then, like you said, to follow it up with different things, not just in the lyrics, but also the emotion in her voice. But like you said, the lyric about we can't grow up, but we're getting older line. Yeah. Like, oh my gosh. I was like, yeah. I was like, oh, look.
It just grabs you.
Hi, it's me. I'm the problem. It's me.
And one thing that I've started to notice in a lot of music is we have made the turn from Gen X to millennial. And then I don't think millennials are going to get their just in music. I think Gen Z is just so strong online and I think we're going to have the shortest lived era of music, but like you're starting to get references of like millennial slang in music. And we're all millennials.
Like the red flag thing is definitely
that's a very millennial thing.
Slang. Like younger millennial, Gen Z.
Younger millennial, which we are younger. We all are younger.
Yeah, I mean we're younger millennial.
We're the tail end. And we've grown up with like young boomer, old Gen X references for a long time. And then the early aughts we fought the
pajamas, see?
And we fought the late Gen X, old boomer references. And now, it's our time. It won't last long. Before long, it'll be like shit's cap, no feel.
Yeah. Skibbity toilet Riz or whatever the kids are
saying.
Yeah,
got that Riz, you know what I mean? But I mean, like, yeah. So, I mean, shit, even the damn Selena Carpenter album, we you surprisingly liked the other night.
Surprisingly liked it.
Had some elder millennial references. We were like, oh shit, all right,
it did.
Word. She's like 22. She's got some elder millennial.
No, she's 25.
25. Okay, so she's a Gen Zer, but but it had some young millennial references. I mean, you were like, oh.
No, like that album surprised me. The Sabrina Carpenter record. The three of us were hanging out. Kyle, I have a conspiracy theory, Carter. I do want to hear your take on Maggie Antone. But I have a conspiracy theory. I think Kyle secretly has been listening to Sabrina Carpenter because he just kind of queued that up out of nowhere. It wasn't prompted. And then he just played Please, 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 and then was waiting to see how we'd respond. And then when I responded positively and you were like, huh, yeah, he was just like, I don't know. I just heard something about this song. And then he just kept playing song after song. And then we were reacting fairly positively to it. And he was just like, yeah, I don't know, man. This is actually not bad. I think that Kyle's been secretly listening to Sabrina Carpenter longer than he was on.
Not to shelve Carter for a second. We were watching Saturday Night Live, and there was some girl,
Charlie XCX, or whatever.
Yeah. And when I queued her up to listen to some of her music,
kids at work keeping up to date listeners. I do not listen to that stuff. I don't know anything about it.
Anyway, Carter, Logan is the secret pop girl summer people, and
it's a brat summer. All right.
Yeah, it is, I guess.
I don't know what that means. I just hear people say it.
It was like, if you like Charlie XCX, Sabrina Carpenter, what was the damn other girl, the pink pony girl?
Chaperone.
Chaperone, yeah. And it was like, all right, let's just go through all of them.
Let's just have ourselves a little taste of the Zoomer pop.
Yeah. So that's how the Sabrina Carpenter album came up. I had heard the TikTok song, but yes, we were pleasantly surprised. Here's Carter.
Yeah, wasn't bad. Carter, all right, going to crunch our cookie. Tell us you didn't like Maggie Antone's song, and we'll tell you how you're wrong.
Actually, no, I did like this song. I probably didn't like it as much as the two of you. I will say that.
Under threat of violence.
Yes, under
You're sitting there beside Kyle, and Kyle has like a sledgehammer, ready to hit Carter if he says anything that we disagree with.
Yeah, I am at the Acre abode because the Ricks household is not exactly good with internet these days out in the boonies. But yeah, I liked this song a good bit. It was not like I said, I preferred Dust, but this is a very good song. This is a song, actually, to go back to this point, I'm really glad you sent me this playlist 2 days ago, and I didn't just get like 1 or 2 listens to this song, because the first time I listened to this song and it got right to the very end and she starts getting a little, maybe I do want to be with this guy. He sobered up. I'm doing all right. We were meant to be. And I swore she said, or we were meant to meet. And I swore she said, and meant to be, which would give the song an entirely different story if I got that contraction wrong. But
conjunction,
junction, I don't know their function. But yeah, I'm very glad I was able to listen.
I think it's conjunction, right?
And I don't know. I ain't taken 3rd grade grammar in over 2 decades. I'm sorry.
Yes,
Smith in 3rd grade.
And is a conjunction. My internal grammar instincts were correct.
I'm sorry, Miss Smith, my 3rd grade teacher. I don't.
Shout out, she was mine too. She was a good teacher.
I don't remember conjunctions. It's been too long. I just know how they work. I don't know their name. Anyway, yeah, I'm glad I had the ability to listen to this song more than once or twice, because I totally would have completely gotten the meaning of this song wrong.
If this song had ended with a happy ending like that, Hallmark style, I wouldn't have liked it as much.
See, the thing is, I wouldn't even think that'd be a happy ending, because that means she's staying in, I hate to use this word because it's been overused so much, she's staying in a toxic relationship that she knows doesn't work, but she's only staying in it because it's what she knows and she's comfortable with. She doesn't want to change. So in my opinion, that's more, it's almost like it would, if she did say and meant to be, it would be almost up to your interpretation, because she does mention he got sober. She mentioned she's doing all right. Maybe they're in a different stage in their life. Maybe they can make it work now that they're, different people. They're going through different things. Maybe some stressors are off of their lives. Maybe they've gotten past a lot of demons that they used to have when they were not doing all right. Some people do that. Some people date on and off throughout different stages of their lives. And then, all of a sudden they work out after the third or fourth time. It's not usually what happens, but it could be. But no, I was wrong. It does end with not meant to be. AKA she is ignoring the feelings of longing. She's ignoring maybe this time that feeling in the back of her head nagging her, saying, maybe this time it'll be different. And she's moving on with her life, which is probably the most positive outcome of the story. And,
I appreciate that perspective. I heard it a little differently. Even let's work on the presupposition that the first time you heard it was correct, and she said "and meant to be." See, I heard it that not necessarily that their relationship was toxic because they were both mean to each other, but they both just have issues, right? And it caused issues. So it was like both, it cut across both sides. But then towards the end, it's like she misses him, and he's gotten sober. She's doing all right, and she was like, "It's you. It's always been you." And then so I can see where you were hearing that, because like I said, I appreciate that perspective on that. I will stand by the fact that if this had ended up with them working out in the end, I wouldn't have liked it as much, because I think that takes away from the power of the song. Because a lot of people have been through this, where you have somebody you thought you wanted to be with, and you really cared a lot for them, but you were meant to meet, but not meant to be. You weren't supposed to work out. So if things kind of worked out at the end, that had Hallmark kind of ending to it, I wouldn't have liked it as much.
Fair enough. I think, it's better that it was not the way that I heard. I think it gives the song a bit more strength on her end. But like we mentioned, the song's almost kind of up for interpretation on our end. I mean, unless I'm glad you also said her last name, Antone, because I looked at that and I would have called her Anthony. But
I'm assuming it's Antone.
Fair. It's I think this song could be up for interpretation. So unless she comes right out and says, like with Happy Face, unless she comes right out and says what the meaning of the song is, it's up for interpretation. And either interpretation, I think, makes this a very good song.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I loved this song from the jump, because the flags were red, but soaked them in bleach line was something I hadn't heard before. And to Kyle's point, it's a little bit more of a modern reference. But it's a modern reference done in a smart way. That is, the red flag kind of reference isn't something that I think is going to be so time stamped. Like if she had said you had Riz, like that would be like, all right, nah. But like red flag is understandable enough across generations to what it means.
Yep. I thought you had Riz, but you were Ohio.
Yeah. If it had been something like that, it probably wouldn't have been my thing. But yeah, shout out Maggie Antone. Shout out my sister-in-law for telling me to listen to her.
What up, Jenny?
Really enjoyed this album, and in particular, this was my favorite song. But yeah, that's the song roundup this week. We will have more coming for you. We've got a lot of records that we have been talking about covering for a while that we need to kind of get to. Me and Kyle have been throwing out the idea of reviewing this Wyatt Flores record for weeks now. So hopefully we can get to that. Be sure to leave us a voicemail link in the description. Also, the website again, coldcanshatco.com. Hats and t-shirts are available. That is the best place to support the podcast if you are so inclined. And be sure to give us 5 stars, great review. Spotify, Apple Podcast. Click the subscribe button, as the YouTubers say. It's Country and Cold Cans. I'm Logan, sitting here with Kyle, and this week, Class Rock Carter filling in for Trucker Andy, who is sick. Feel better, Andy. See you next time.
Take care, guys.
Later.